Well, hello everybody. It seems that we are once again delving into the world of anti-woke content on YouTube, and I feel like one of the best sources of enjoyment in this realm has been finding these like smaller CHUD channels that are trying to become the next Quartering or the next like Geeks and Gamers or the next No Bullshit, and see their like pitiful and unsuccessful attempts to hit virality by covering like different things they think have gone woke. Dude, apparently the guy we're covering right now is live streaming. He's live streaming to 9 viewers talking about the comics industry. Oh boy. So, this guy is interesting, and I must say, he's not even trying to hide it. He's called the Common Nerds. You can see, he seems like he's quite the, or I guess it's Mr. and Mrs. Common Nerd. So I guess these are like a couple. Is this like a married couple doing some kind of like anti-woke grift like Clownfish TV maybe? I like how in this one, they're not even trying to hide that they're like ripping the Quarterings bit with like the Brie Larson Captain Marvel like obsessiveness. As you can see, this guy knows the formula for like dumping content on YouTube constantly to like let the algorithm like you. I mean, it's doing okay for him. Who knows? With how much they're uploading, this could end up being a thing. But as you can see, we're going to be talking about their video from 4 days ago. People in my Discord were recommending I cover this, called Amazon Batman Goes Full Woke. Batman Caped Crusader Destroys Beloved Characters in New Series. Now, I'm not like a crazy big Batman fan, to be clear. Like, I know the basics, right? I know the basics. I've seen like The Dark Knight. I didn't watch the new, what's his name? The Twilight guys new Batman movie. I heard it's really good, The Batman. I do want to watch it. I hear it's really good. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet, you know? But I'm not like a huge Batman fan. I'm frankly not a huge DC fan. But something I've noticed is that most of these CHUD types seem to be big fans of DC comics more often than Marvel comics. Maybe I'm like, because I'm not like super into comics. I'm not one of these people who like pretends to be like a super nerd, true gamer, nerd boy, gatekeeper or whatever. So I'm not like even gonna pretend like I know this shit. But it's interesting to me how many of these guys are DC Comics fans, and yet they do still complain a lot about like the MCU and stuff and pretend like, you know, they loved it and now they're mad because it's going woke or whatever. And it's interesting to me how often they are fans of characters that like do a thing that they get mad at a character they think is woke for doing, right? Like Yellow Flash, for example. Big fan of the Flash, as you can imagine, a DC character. But the Flash is a lot of different people. Like, Barry Allen is not the only Flash. And that's kind of a famous thing, is that the Flash is actually a very widely used title. Like, a lot of different people end up using it, even within the same continuities. And so, with that being such a famously known thing, the fact that that guy complains about how, like, Miles Morales cannot also be Spider-Man alongside Peter Parker. Like, there can only be one Spider-Man. That's Peter Parker. Miles Morales cannot also be Spider-Man. Like, he insists on this, and obviously we know it's because of racism. Like, they don't like Miles Morales because he's a popular character who's black, and also, I think he's, like, black Hispanic, right? And so this is, like, very much like a character they consider the epitome of woke, and his popularity spits in the face of go woke, go broke quite brazenly. And so they have to, like, make up excuses for why... It's so bizarre, you know? It's so bizarre. I don't know. Yeah, he's black Hispanic. Anyway, as I was saying, though, I wonder what we're going to get out of this. Maybe this won't be as, like, on-the-nose, cringe, awful, like, in-your-face, bigoted or whatever. Or maybe it's just going to be super mask-off because it's a smaller channel. We really could get either of the two out of this channel. So let's find out. Apparently this is a married couple that makes content, but how much you want to bet we're just going to see a guy and no proof, evidence, or indication of there being a woman in this guy's life who believes the same things he does?
Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages.
What the fuck? He is in a garage right now. This is a Redditor who is streaming slash recording from a garage. You can see the garage door behind him, right? And there's a washing machine behind him. Dude, if he has to make his videos in the garage, dude, I already feel bad. Live on Rumble, of course. Of course he's live on fucking Rumble.
You know, it's one of them situations when you hear an announcement like a legendary creator like Bruce Timm is coming back to create another Batman the Animated Series after the literal most...
Okay. Maybe I'm being really mean here, but this guy does a lot of drugs. I think this guy does a lot of drugs, and there's a lot of reasons why I could claim that, but here's why I think that. His voice. He has Whippet's voice. You guys know how Steve-O sounds? Do you know why Steve-O sounds like that? Whippets. Whippets do that to your voice and your vocal cords. They vocal fry you to shit and make you sound like you're constantly, like, vocal fried, but also huffing helium. That, like, high-pitched, like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, that's like, Whippets does that to you. I wonder if this guy's, like, downing Whippets constantly. For those who don't know what Whippets are you would get like, I guess, a canister of like whipped cream, and you would like flip it upside down to huff the propellant. The propellant is like nitrous oxide, I think, and that shit deprives your brain of oxygen and basically puts you into like a temporary like moment of suffocation, like brain suffocation. And from the way I've had doing Whippets described to me, it sounds awful. Apparently, like, everything goes black. You hear, like, warbling, like, wow, 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 like, just a warbling noise. And everything just goes black, and you stop existing for, like, a second, and then you're back. Like a second later, you're back. And I guess you have to take another hit to go back to being high. I don't know why anyone would do this, but apparently many people... I wonder if this guy's just huffing nitrous, and that's why he sounds like this. Oh, it 100% is awful. People in my high school used to do it. Yeah, it's pretty common. No one went, like, around where I grew up really did it, because I guess it wasn't really popular. Like, the kids in, like, redneck Florida, where I went to high school, very quickly caught on to the local drug of choice, meth. Yeah. Meth, like, first it was weed. Like, freshman year, I went in to do the SAT at the local high school, got offered weed at the lunch table, like literally, like, sat down with a random group of like kids that were just friends, and I was like, I guess they've got an open seat. I'll try to make friends there. I was there to take the SAT, and I just sat down and was like, hey, I'm supposed to have lunch here and then go back in for the second part of the test. I'm homeschooled, but this is the closest school, so I'm doing my SAT here, and just kind of introduced myself. And the girl that was next to me, who just had like rings under her eyes, that's all I remember, is she had rings under her eyes, just says to me in just the most deadpan, like, dead-eyed, like, way, we do drugs. And then just pulls out a little baggie of like just the most shit stank bud you've ever seen. It looks like it's been run over like 3 times in a driveway, and just like shows it to me and offers me a nug. And I'm like, no, I've never drank before at this point. Like, I've never touched marijuana. And so I'm like, no. And then by the time I was like a senior, I knew kids whose lives were actively being ruined by meth. Like, they were already meth addicts, and it was already destroying them. Gotta love Florida, huh? Gas station weed? Nah, this is before, like, Delta 8 and stuff. I think that was just straight weed. Oh shit, you're in Florida? I'm from Florida. I'm currently in Seattle. I moved to Seattle a while ago from California, which I moved to from Florida when I was 21. I'm 25 now, but I grew up for 21 years of my life in Florida. From the day I was born until 5 days before I turned 21. That's when I left. I arrived in California on my 21st birthday, and I smoked weed for the first time. Fully legal, 21 years old in an illegal state. First time smoking weed. Got my new apartment, my first ever apartment, decided to celebrate with a bowl, and then I vomited. Anyway, very big stun lock, but I feel it's worth telling you.
Amazing and probably one of the best versions of Batman we've ever seen in animation out there, which of course was the Batman the Animated Series from the 90s that so many of us grew up on. It was one of our first introductions to Batman for a lot of us, and obviously introduced a very legendary at this point character of Harley Quinn. Well, boys and
Don't you guys, aren't you so nostalgic for things you grew up on? Oh man, aren't you nostalgic? Don't you miss like how much better things were when you were a kid and you had like all the time in the world and no responsibilities and everything? Like you were bored all the time, so any piece of entertainment you got was like instantly like the best thing ever and became very important to you. And don't you miss these things? Well, hey, guess what? The memory of those things is being ruined by the woke. Don't you want to fight against the people trying to ruin the memory of these things you're nostalgic for? Like, it's just so blatant what this guy's trying to do. It's like, hey, you love this thing you're nostalgic for, right? Well, the left wants to destroy it and ruin it. You've got to fight against the woke. It's like, okay, man. Like, it's just so explicit, you know?
girls, there's a new series out there, Batman the Caped Crusader, that apparently David Zaslav over at Warner Bros. Discovery took one look at and went, oh, hell no, you are not putting that on my service. And well, boys and girls, of course, Amazon and all of their wonderful productions that they put out there gladly snapped this up and put this out there on their Amazon Prime series. Now, this also comes from not only Bruce Timm, the legendary, one of
my favorite things about this, like, CHUD era has been this, like, weird double standard for anything produced by Amazon. Don't get me wrong, Amazon's a horrible company, but a piece of media is not bad because it was like produced by like Amazon, right? Like, for one, it wasn't made by Amazon, it was produced by Amazon. Amazon does not make anything. They produce things. Like they bankroll things and provide like a market for things. Like that's the entire business of Amazon, down to like the media that they license or that they publish, right? Much like a game publisher, Amazon doesn't make these pieces of media. Like, Amazon isn't responsible for Invincible or The Boys or Rings of Power or any of the other Amazon shows. They didn't make those. They bankrolled them and published them. Simple as that. And these CHUD YouTubers rely heavily on a general dislike for the company Amazon to basically poison the well about these pieces of media before likely many of their audience or any of their audience have ever seen it, right? Famously, they did this with Rings of Power, where like the entire internet decided it was going to be bad like years before it came out. Like, so many talking points were pushed as 100% fact that upon watching the show is like, what the fuck? Why were people saying this before it came out? Like, that never happened. Like, at one point, there was this narrative going around that they were going to shoehorn nudity and sex into the Lord of the Rings show to make it more like Game of Thrones, and everyone was repeating this, like, oh, this show's going to suck so much, like, you know, just deciding it was going to suck. There's not even a second, not even, like, a hint of like, nudity or sex in the entire show. It's as sexless as anything else Tolkien has made, right? Like anything made by Tolkien, it's just as sexless, right? And yet that talking point was like so pervasive, and you're allowed to have whatever opinion you want. I like Rings of Power. I know a lot of people didn't. I appreciate it as being like its own like standalone piece of Middle-earth fan fiction that's like high budget and high production value and well made. But some people just can't stand for any of the lore discrepancies. Like, it just sets them off, right? But outside of that, the show is just objectively well made. It's well acted. It's well shot. It's like well composed. The music is amazing. Howard Shore and Bear McCreary. Bear McCreary did the music for God of War. He did the Walking Dead theme, and a bunch of other big things. Like, Bear McCreary is like the next big up and coming like music composer guy. Him and Howard Shore cooked for the soundtrack of Rings of Power. And I feel like these chuds have like so heavily tried to push the idea that like, you hate Rings of Power, right? A show that like half the people who hate it have never seen. Well, Amazon has made another woke thing, and it's like simultaneously these same people like glaze Invincible and, well, before this new season, The Boys like crazy. Like, these people would simultaneously glaze the fuck out of The Boys and Invincible and then say, well, Rings of Power is bad because it's made by Amazon. These people, man. These people.
Legendary masterminds behind the original animated series, but also from our good old boy, Jar Jar Abrams himself. And boys and girls, we've got a wonderful little clip out there that confirms all of our suspicions of exactly how much of a disastrous dumpster fire this has already gotten to be. Now, obviously, we can go over all of the different things out there talking about. Obviously, we know that Harley Quinn
Oh my God, there's no way he's doing the thing. Okay, let me see if I can find... Let me see if I can find a concise clip from the Pillar of Garbage video that explains these people's, like, entire grift. Pillar of Garbage. I love it. Where immediately the clip of, like, a camcorder recording of someone's screen for the clip of the show we get to see. Amazing. Right into the method. Like, not even trying to hide it. Let me see if I can find... that amazing video. Echo versus Daredevil. Here we go. The 240p effect. This is Pillar of Garbage explaining selective memory and how YouTubers trick you. This is what this guy is doing here, explained meticulously and mathematically, because all these chuds do it, and it's, like, predictable at this point.
No, I think all it is that their favorite little trick's been done for them. It's a freebie. It's been pointed out plenty, often by the guys over at the Fandom Initiative, that a staple tool in the "this media is woke and bad" toolkit is showing low-quality footage, often slowed, often audio replaced, while making complaints. It's convince audience thing is shit on easy mode, because when you distort a piece of TV, when you pull apart all those strands that come together to lift a viewer into belief, when you separate them out, pull a microscope on them, yeah, the illusion gets broken. It looks fake, no shit. If you repeat and boost the squeaky pedal in Since I've Been Loving You, that's gonna sound like a mess too. But obviously, it isn't really. But yeah, this one's a freebie. These guys don't even have to make the edit themselves. They can just press play, react, and compare it unfavorably to the Netflix Daredevil sequences it's calling back to. So, I tell you what, let's you and I rewatch that first hallway fight scene, but let's do it in the same way these guys are watching this one.
Watch how easy it is. Turn down saturation, so everything, like, one of the biggest things they do is they turn the saturation down. If they don't have, like, a camcorder recording of, like, a screen to do it for them, like this guy's talking about here, I say this guy, Pillar of Garbage is talking about here, then what they'll do is they'll take footage, they blur it, they desaturate it so that, like, if you ever watch, say, a Critical Drinker video, any movie or piece of media he covers, the clips of it you see are all desaturated. This isn't just done to avoid copyright. This is done to visually make the movie he's criticizing look less appealing. You'll notice he doesn't do it on videos he's praising for things that he praises. He desaturates the picture and removes the color so that when he's talking about a piece of media, let's say he's talking about, like, he did this with Glass Onion, a very beloved movie. When he has to shit talk a beloved movie for the narrative, good movies tend to be visually good. Like, if you see clips from a good movie, it's probably going to intrigue you and make you want to watch. Like the cinematography, the like lighting, the camera movement, the scenes, even without audio, might intrigue you, right? And they want to avoid that because seeing a scene that looks good while they're, like, talking over it about how shit the movie is kind of flies in the face of the narrative they're trying to push. So what they'll do is they'll blur it, zoom it in, and color desaturate it to make the media look visually awful so that even the merits that are obvious and impossible to deny of whatever piece of media they're criticizing cannot be recognized by those that haven't gone out of the way to consume that media themselves. And they can continue to push the narrative, even that your eyes will pick up subconsciously that this is a bad piece of media. It doesn't even look good to look at, right? And so you can see, like, why I freaked out right away when I saw he's going to be covering a glared, probably no audio, or if there is, it's going to be like that way that audio through a speaker sounds when picked up by a camera, like that really awful, like, distorted way. Like, it's the same. They're doing it. Like, he's doing it right now.
has now been race swapped. She has also been now no longer has any connection to the Joker. She also looks, well, quite unattractive compared to what she looked like in, of course,
What the? Dude, there's like 12 Harley Quinns. What are you fucking complaining about, dog? What do you mean she's now? You think they're making one continuity of Batman now? There's like 15 fucking iterations of Batman that are happening right now, and every one of them has a Harley Quinn. I think Harley Quinn has her own show. I'm sure this guy hates that, but like, dude, there's like 12 Harley Quinns that currently exist separately and independently in media right now. If you don't like any of them, then I think you might just not like Harley Quinn as a character, which is fine. She's kind of annoying, to be completely honest.
Her original animated series, and in every iteration we've seen her in comic books, video games, live action, or in animation. So they've completely and totally negated that. We knew that from the beginning. We also know that they gender swapped. Penguin it's now Pingwet instead of Penguin, although they're still actually trying to call them Penguin, but we're going to call them Pingwet because I think that's more an...
Dude, could you imagine if like the MCU started in 2016 and people found out that Nick Fury would be played by Samuel L. Jackson and would be black? Like, to this day, they cope so hard when someone brings up, why was it okay to race swap Nick Fury? They're like, well, it was before the culture war, and everyone loves Samuel L. Jackson, and also Nick Fury's not so important a character that it really matters what his race is. They'll make up excuses for why, like, things that have been settled in the cultural zeitgeist as beloved and good, why it's acceptable for them to meet the same standard for woke that they lambast other media for. And it's like, it's really funny when you actually think of their justifications and how stupid they are.
Actually, more accurate statement, because Oswald Cobblepot deserves to be remembered and resigned. And that's the problem with this, right? That's my big issue with a lot of this kind of stuff. And I'm going to get into all of that. And we're going to show you a little bit of this clip. We can't play the whole clip for you by any means whatsoever. Or, you know, Amazon will have a little hissy fit over the whole thing. But we can...
Who remembers when like gender swapping media and characters was just seen as like a fun what if scenario, and these like people didn't lose their minds over it? Like, could you imagine the freak out if Fiona and Cake from Adventure Time started being a thing more recently? Because that was like a 2013, 2012, like that happened, and it was just seen as like a fun little thing, right? Everyone loved it. There was no like political implications behind just an episode where they gender swap all the characters for the hell of it, right? Nowadays, though, like I feel like an episode like that would be under massive drama and fire over the idea of supporting like kids transitioning or something. Like there would be some sort of culture war freak out over that, because you can't just apolitically and for fun do an iteration of some characters that are known where they're like gender swapped or something. Like Stan Lee famously talked about how for fun he wanted to do a run of DC characters that were just completely... I'm very aware of the Fiona and Cake spinoff. Trust me, I'm very aware. Big fan. I'm excited for season 2. Anyway, God, my nose won't stop itching. I need to get a nose hair trimmer so bad. Anyway, I remember Stan Lee talking about how he wanted to do a DC run where he like gender and race swapped certain characters to see how that would affect, the story of those characters. So for instance, he said he wanted to make Batman black and see how growing up in like a lower income, like more common, if you're a black American, you probably statistically grew up in a lower income household, and you're going to go through a certain list of common issues, and how he somehow still becomes Batman as we know him through a completely different backstory. That was Stan Lee's plan. That was literally what Stan Lee wanted to do with Batman. Was like race swap him to be black and give him like a non-rich upbringing and see what kind of Batman he becomes from there. If Stan Lee was around to do that today and he did that, oh my god, they would lose their minds. You can't just do that kind of thing as a fun what if scenario anymore, because these people will take it as like a sin on their favorite piece of media.
Go through. It's got subtitles in here, and it's also got a little bit of a description here from Heistman. I don't know if Heistman was just really angry at the time when he was writing this, but his grammar's a little funky, but we can get kind of the general interpretation. And once you see the clip, you're going to understand exactly what we say here, because not only was our prediction right about them eliminating Harley Quinn's Joker connection so that they can make her a lesbian true, but they've also damaged and ruined one of our wonderful characters of Montoya, Bullock's sidekick, Bullock's partner, that used to always keep him out of hot trouble. That was literally the yin to his yang back.
I genuinely just don't. I just don't care, man. Man, you realize that you're in a garage right now. I can see the like light coming through the gaps in the garage door. I can tell you don't have any like insulation to keep it like warm in there during the cold days or cool in there during the hot days. Like you pretend like you make these videos with your wife, but you're not allowed to make your videos inside the house. You got to do it in the garage. Like the fact that this is your life, you're just sitting there in a garage ranting about lesbians and women and gender swapping and a Batman cartoon. Like, how old is this guy? He's at least 30, right? Like, there's no way this guy is younger than 30. So this guy is at least 30. And this is what he does. To an audience of hundreds. I don't know, man. It's just, it just comes off as sad to me. Like, I'm getting depressed watching this. We're 2 minutes and 40 seconds in, and I've just spent the last 26 minutes getting progressively more depressed for this guy. I'll let him go for a little while.
Back in the Batman the Animated Series. No, now, guess what they did to Montoya as well, boys and girls? Well, we're going to find out here in just a second. So we're going to check out this little video clip. We're going to go over some of it. We're going to show off how bad the animation looks, how incredibly hideous they are trying to make some of these wonderful characters look. And
yes, we're going to talk about how bad the show looks through a camcorder recording of a screen. Like, dude, you know you're supposed to kind of like obscure that, right? Like, here's a little advice from to a smaller content creator that's doing this right-wing grift stuff, okay? Just because I've seen the bigger content creators and what they do and how it succeeds. What this guy isn't realizing is that you're not supposed to outright say, look how bad it looks, while pointing to the video of it on a screen. That's a little bit too on the nose, I think. I think even his own audience might like recognize how unfair that is. What you're supposed to do is just show that clip as if it's the only available clip. And you're supposed to allow people to subconsciously decide it looks like shit through the poor context in which they are being exposed to it for the first time. You're not supposed to just outright say, look how bad this looks, and then, you know, clearly frame it in like the most uncharitable way possible, like with the camcorder and everything. They do this with video games too. Yeah, like you're supposed to just imply that they should like use this video as their taste, their like sample of the game or the movie or the show. Do you have him sped up, or does he really talk that fast? I have him sped up.
And tell you all about where we think this is going and how much of a disastrous dumpster fire it will be for Amazon, and of course exactly why David Zaslav said,
wait,
oh,
Rippaverse? Wait, is this guy like friends with young Rippa? Oh, okay, wait, no, this guy is at least friends with someone who's kind of known. This guy is like part of the Rippaverse, apparently.
No, to this Batman the Cape Crusader nonsense. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, because we just crossed 1K over there on YouTube, boys and girls, and I could not have done that without every single one of you. Also,
Okay, he's self-promoting now. Dude, can we see this clip? Can we just see the clip that he's complaining about? And let's see how horrendous this apparently is.
we're not playing the clip, Amazon, so back off. But literally,
Okay. I can't even play the clip. Okay, we'll watch his. Let's see his analysis.
you're looking at this right here. You've got our Dr. Quinzel, right? No connection to the Joker. And of course,
Oh. He's retarded. Guys, I don't even know, like, shit about Batman, but when Harley Quinn goes by, like, the Dr. Quinzel title, that's when she's working as, like, an asylum prison psychiatrist where she meets the Joker and then goes insane with him and they do their thing. So unless they've, like, explicitly stated they're not doing that, storyline, you have to actually be pretending to be a Batman fan to not know that this is the setup for her meeting the Joker. Like, that's how it goes. Like, they meet, and she's like a normal psychiatrist, and he's so insane, he drives her insane. And they become, like, a crime duo, right?
I know I haven't watched the series yet, but according to somebody out there in my chat, she actually captures rich people and tortures them because they're rich. That's your
The Joker and Harley Quinn would never do this.
Harley Quinn, boys and girls. Not stealing, not robbing, not doing normal criminal activities. No. She's a relatable villain because she's out there taking these rich people and putting them in their place.
Oh my God, there's no way this guy actually likes Batman. How am I? I'm about to mog this guy on Batman knowledge. That is every Batman villain, dude. Like, every Batman villain is either a ruthless, evil capitalist or someone who is, like, really poor and wants to kill rich people, and it's, like, not good that they want to do that. There's a famous comic I know that starts with the Riddler just murdering an elevator full of, like, rich people for fun, because they're rich and he wants to kill rich people, and then blowing up an entire, like, later on blows up an entire, like, this is an older comic too. He blows up an entire, like, just, like, meeting, like, dinner party of, like, higher up rich people in Gotham for class-based reasons. Like, class-based crime is the entire focus of Gotham, Batman, all of his villains and everything. Like, even, does this guy just see, like, the Riddler and just see, haha, riddles, and none of the other, like, shit that motivates these characters? I know there's different runs and they have different motivations in these runs, but some of the most famous, it's, like, explicit that they have class-based motivations. I know some of the villains in the Arkham games do. And I've seen at least a couple of, like, Batman media, comics and movies that have that. That's like a running theme, I thought, of Batman villains, is some class-based backstory / motivation to their villainy, right? There's nothing out of the ordinary here so far, besides what he's assuming about, like, there's not going to be any Joker and she's going to be a lesbian or whatever. Like, I'm assuming that he's assuming that because, like, he's provided no evidence that this is how the story goes, and even if it did, he's provided no evidence that they could not do this story well.
Yeah. Color us shock there. What's new? So basically, she's not Harley Quinn at all. She's Harley Quinn in name only. Thanks, appreciate that. But
I literally know she is exactly, as far as you've explained, like her character in every iteration of her I've seen before meeting Joker.
yeah, it's sweet the way you worry about the commissioner, right? Which, of course, and now he goes, her dad's more of a father to me than mine ever was. Because, of course, once again, they've erased another redhead by race swapping Commissioner Gordon. It's now
oh my God, they're doing the redhead replacement memes. Oh my God. For those who don't know, these chuds have been pushing since, I'd say they've been pushing it since Zendaya ended up being MJ in the MCU. They pushed this idea that the woke media hates redheaded women, which they've kind of propped up as, like, on par with, like, Asian women as, like, the peak trophy for, like, a red-pilled man to achieve. Either, like, a submissive, small, almost child-looking Asian wife is what they want, or a redhead. Like a very pale white redhead that's like the two things that they want, right? And so they do this weird, like, Red Dead. I'm thinking Red Dead Redemption. They do this weird, like, redhead conspiracy theory about how, like, the woke media wants to replace redheaded women with black women in media to slowly acclimate the white population to their own erasure. That is what they are trying to suggest. Like, even when these chuds don't outright say they believe in, like, white replacement theory or whatever, that's what they mean. Like, when they talk about, like, how characters are race swapped and it's a problem, or things are going woke because they want more diversity, the reason why they think that's bad, if they're willing to outright say it, is they believe that Jews control Hollywood and all big media, and they are trying to normalize and acclimate and boil the frog, like, for the white American population or white Westerners, at the idea of being erased. So, like, you slowly watch as, like, all your favorite white characters get race swapped and gender swapped, and that acclimates you to being erased as a demographic, because they believe, like, everything is out to get them, right? Like, down to the cartoons that are popular on TV, all of it is, like, being done by the Jews to serve white genocide, because they're insane. That they're, like, this is honestly the same mindset as schizophrenics, or, like, people with paranoid delusions of grandeur, where, like, they think everything is about them, but also that everything is out to get them. You know what I mean? So they're hyper paranoid, but they also have delusions of grandeur where they think that everything is out to get them specifically, or their group specifically, right? It's interesting. Either these people are faking their ideas or their beliefs, or they're actually mentally unwell. And that's what makes going over these channels and going over these people so interesting. Because we're either dealing with, like, a grifter who is just, like, smirkily lying to the camera and to their audience and just trying to make money, or they're actually crazy, you know? It's very interesting. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment or anything I had to say, then consider dropping a like. Every thumbs up really does go a long way to help the channel, no matter when, where, or what you're watching. And of course, if you want to see more from me and to help the channel even more, you can subscribe during the bell icon to turn on all notifications, and comment down below, because that also boosts the channel in the algorithm, and it really does help. You can also follow my social medias, linked down below in the description, to see me on other platforms, including joining my fan Discord. It's totally free to join. It is the hub of all of my community, basically, and I also host events there. Gaming events, call-in streams, watch parties, and I announce all my new uploads and streams there, so if you don't want to miss anything, make sure you join my fan Discord. Anyway, with all that said, if you want to support me directly, of course, you can always donate, subscribe, or gift a sub on my website, or support me financially through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, or Patreon, or buying merch to the Streamlabs link down below, if you want to support me financially. But regardless, thank you all so much for watching, even if you're just chill and vibing and just sort of like, you know, like lurking. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And with all that said, I hope to see you again.